Hey guys, Captain Foley with you today. This is actually a sequel to my first video regarding this subject called JJ's Star Trek Sucks, and here's why. This is the sequel talking about his non-sequel, Into Darkness. Now, the reason he calls it a non-sequel is because that's why it's Star Trek Into Darkness. There's no colon between the two because he thought a colon implied sequel, and there was too much anticipation and expectation in a sequel that he didn't want that. So it's just Star Trek Into Darkness. That's why this is a non-sequel as well. If you're a regular subscriber or follower of my channel, you know I've already done this video, but the last one had a few problems with it, so I took it down and I'm redoing it. And I hope you guys will at least watch this one again, because there will be a few slight changes. My brother's made most of the notes. Here are the notes. There's a few pages. It's about half hour of a read for everything. I've made some of my own notes. So what I'm going to do is read his paragraph, then do my counterpoint. I don't always agree with my brother. I do about 98% of the time, but it's good to be a devil's advocate and have two sides to the story. And I hope you guys would appreciate that fact that I do respect JJ as an artist, as a creative person. I just don't think he should have got the reins of Star Trek. So I will play devil's advocate, on occasion, and give my point of view too. So here we go. He even has it called Notes into Dumbness. So let's get on with that. And I thought I'd have original series stuff playing in the background, as is original stuff back here. I'm a huge original series fan, so I need to defend what I love, and I definitely love Star Trek, the original series. So here we go with our Notes into Dumbness. By the way, before we start, in the description below there will be links to my first video, JJ's Star Trek Sucks and Here's Why, as well as how the Enterprise should have looked during the redesign for this new franchise. So check those out before this one if you haven't already, and I will hopefully see you guys there. Alright, and feel free to leave comments and suggestions, whatever. If you're a JJ fan, I don't know why you would be, as far as the reimagining of Star Trek goes, you should probably turn back now, because you will find nothing but pain and suffering during this video. So yeah, these are just things that I feel have to be said, so we're going to go ahead and do them. If you don't like it, there's always other channels out there, so check it out. But seriously, no, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. Alright, let's get started. First issue, JJ was involved. And yes, I do acknowledge that JJ was the director, not the writer, but still, the director can order rewrites to suit his vision and more accurately reflect facts. For example, Bryan Singer during X2, X-Men United, ordered the writers to research exactly how a dam would break. In fact, so much research was done that they were worried about attracting attention for a potential terrorist attack. There is so much out there about Star Trek and true space astronomical facts that there's no way such inaccuracies should have found their way through to the final product, unless you are only intent on making a science fiction movie, action movie. TOS was big into putting science into the show. It was plausible stuff, logical stuff, and it was indeed science fiction. I'll just clarify that a little bit. The science fiction of Star Trek has always been based on science fact. And the story is, of course, the primary focus of the shows. Science has always been secondary, but the science has always been good science and makes sense. It's logical. Star Trek has been good at predicting the future, not just technologically wise, actually more like influencing the future. iPads, iPhones, communicators, things like that, thanks to Star Trek. But Star Trek has also used astronomical phenomenon, quantum physics, temporal mechanics, all things based in science fact in their shows. As a matter of fact, Star Trek has even predicted a few things through the writing of their show that have come to pass in real science. So that's what we're getting at here, is that his is a good action movie, a good science fiction movie with very little emphasis on the science. The science is small, the fiction is huge. The original Star Trek is science fiction. Science is huge, story is big too, the fiction is big, but it's more science fiction, not it's not so flaky. It's not Star Wars. Star Wars is good. Don't get me wrong. I like Star Wars. But Star Wars does not rely on scientific fact. And JJ has done a good job of turning Star Trek into Star Wars. He's even stated in previous interviews that he never got Star Trek when he was younger. His friends would ask him to watch it, and he just couldn't get into it. It was too cerebral for him. He didn't understand it. He was more of a Star Wars guy. That shows in his adaptation of this franchise. He has changed Star Trek into Star Wars. And I'm looking forward to see what it does with Star Wars, because he is a big fan. Although I'm afraid that since he turned Star Trek into Star Wars, watch out, Star Wars fans. He might be turning Star Wars into Star Trek, the one thing you guys hate. I don't know. Hey, there's another video that I have made too. Star Trek versus Star Wars. Why? We should all get along. We're all nerds here. I like both. I have quite a collection of Star Wars things, actually. And I don't see why we can't get along. Can't like both. Star Wars fans have always been very harsh regarding Star Trek fans. And Star Trek fans have been much more accepting of Star Wars fans. That's another video you should check out on my channel as well. I might put it in the description below. I might not. I might just have you guys scroll through my past videos. I would like you to check them out anyway. I have a lot of Star Trek related videos, obviously. I do a lot of model building and things like that. So check those out for me, please. Anyway, enough self-serving about my channel bullshit. Let's get back to bashing JJ, because that's what we all love to do. I had occasion, actually, before I continue here, I had occasion when we were in, when I went down to Vegas to the Star Trek convention, I ran into Michael and Denise Cuda on the on the floor, and I talked to them for a few moments. And one of my questions was what they thought of the new Star Trek. And they've both worked with J.J. Abrams on shows like Alias in the past. And they are of my opinion as well, that J.J. is a very talented person. I can't take anything away from him. He's very creative. But in their words, they had to be very diplomatic with the way they said this, and I appreciate that. Michael and Denise Cuda, they were the production designers on The Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine, as well as Enterprise. And so they are well familiar with Star Trek, and it's their baby. But like I said, when I asked them this question, they had to be very diplomatic about the way they answered it. And you can even see video interviews with them online where they answer it the same way. They just basically state that they wouldn't have done it this way. They would have made a lot of changes. So that's kind of their way of saying, you know, we love JJ. He's a good guy, but he kind of ruined our Star Trek. Okay, well, but that all being said, let's continue on now, okay? It's a nice action movie, but it's not Star Trek. And that's basically what it comes down to. Let's bring the science back to Star Trek. Let's bring the science fact back to Star Trek. And let's, like LeVar Burton says, LeVar Burton plays Geordi in The Next Generation. When he was asked about J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, all he had to say, and I completely agree with this 100%, let's bring Gene Roddenberry back to Star Trek, his vision. JJ's kind of lost that vision, and I agree with LeVar that we should bring that back. It would make Star Trek much better. So, that all being said, now let's move on. Kirk kills their ride at the beginning of the movie. He doesn't know about the escape plan. Just dumb. And it's true. He's the captain. Did he not read the mission briefing? Did he, have his morning coffee, leave his captain's log in the toilet, and just beam down? And, oh, look, a monster. Let's shoot it. That was our ride, dude. As McCoy said. Damn it, man. That was our ride. You think he would have been aware of that. Let's have a powerful beast of burden that can propel us at great speeds away from the angry villagers, which we managed to piss off by stealing one of their sacred artifacts. Why we did that, I don't know. I don't know the details of the mission. Apparently neither did Kirk. But why have help from a beast of burden like, basically like a horse, to get away when we can just shoot it? No. What does hiding underwater give a starship that staying in orbit doesn't? It is a primitive planet with primitive people. They do not have any means of detecting a starship in orbit, especially since in JJ's universe, the transporters work over such long distances. The ship could easily just stay out of the solar system and beam people down to the planet. This is true. Nibiru was a very primitive planet, very primitive people. There were no telescopes, there were no satellite tracking devices. No satellites in orbit, nothing to track the starship. Why would they need to go under the water? My brother gets into that in a minute, but Yeah, it's a little ridiculous considering all through the original series they were dealing with primitive planets, and all they did was stay in orbit and beam down. It's one of the great things about transporters. Okay. Continuing on. Here is something dumb. If they were to stay out of sight on the Nibiru, why would they put the ship underwater? How did they get it there without making any noise or attracting any attention or causing any superstitions, spooking the natives, etc.? Even splashing down at night would have created some kind of stir. And as much as my brother, the captain, might wish to believe that the ship splashed down way out in the sea and maneuvered up to the shoreline, no way. The ship is not designed to be hydrodynamic, nor even aerodynamic for that matter. And what? Are there propellers, screws on the nacelles? Nope, can't be. That would not produce stable propulsion. Maybe they just pop out of the hull in convenient places, like Finn McMissile in Cars 2. Yeah, it could be like a transformer. Oh, what is that? They can use thrusters to maneuver, you say? No, not really. Firing a rocket engine underwater, would that produce thrust, or just heat up the water around the ship? Nope. I find it hard to believe that in JJ's 2009 movie, that they build a submarine vessel on dry land on San Francisco shipyards in Iowa. See the first video for that one. Flew it all the way through the air into space, then using magical fairy dust to the alien planet to cruise the ocean. I will tell you why the ship was underwater. Because it was a spectacular scene. To see the ship rise up, fly over the volcano, and majestically streak across the sky. Spectacular. Completely impractical, dumb, and illogical, but spectacular. And that's what sells movies. Because JJ knows how to sell movies. Correct. Like he says here, he mentioned this point about being underwater, how it got there without noticing a splash, etc. I was playing devil's advocate. I said, well, they could have entered the sea far out and cruised to the shoreline. Like I said, I like to play devil's advocate once in a while, especially when it comes to my brother. And that was his retort to that. So I agree. The nacelles on JJ's Enterprise do have two counter-rotating discs in the front of them, and they're blue. They're not red like they're supposed to be. So I'm thinking maybe it's some kind of underwater propulsion device. That's why they're blue. Nah, I'm stretching, but that's where we stand with that one. You know, and as for the magical fairy dust after they go to warp, that's very true. Like, they're not using antimatter. They're not using a static warp bubble. How are they propelling this ship? They're leaving little afterwards. Like, are they polluting space? Should we be calling the EPA on them? What's going on there, JJ? What kind of fuel source are you using? Okay. Well, that just leads into my next part here. Sparkly fairy dust after the vapor trail? Really? Really? Yeah, really. Oh, sorry, guys. Just need to adjust. Okay. The year is 2259. Got it. Now, the original series star dates were meant to disguise the actual Earth year from being determined. And they were relative to based on where you were in the galaxy, how far from Earth you are, center of the Milky Way, etc. I have heard from the writers that the writers of these two JJ movies decided to rework the star date to include the actual year. Well, okay then. Go ahead. You've changed everything else. Even still, some people have estimated the original series to take place between 2265 and 2269. But another clue from the original series episode Space Seed, when they tell Khan that he has been sleeping for 2 centuries. That's 200 years for all you people who don't do math or who blindly believe something that you hear in a movie. Khan was reported to have been launched in the year 1996. So obviously our universe is not the prime universe from Star Trek the original series either. So to do the math for you, 1996 plus 200 equals 2196, putting the TOS era around the turn of the 23rd century. Okay, I really don't have much to say on that one. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Good job, Steve. His next little blurb here. A record player? Really? That would be such an antique by then. Better be careful with that. You know, it might skip when the paperboy tosses the newspaper through the window. Really? They have flying cars, but still have record players. Dumb. the obsolete newspaper crack was me. Well, my brother. Yeah, I agree. I do have a record player somewhere around here, but it's an old Mickey Mouse one. Like, they're hard to come by these days, let alone that far in the future. And the one dude even had an antique alarm clock. I don't know. They pushed the antique thing a little too far. They could have a modern alarm clock that I have on my nightstand right now, my iHome dock, and it still would have been an antique for their time. They don't need to push the whole bringing the past into the future thing. I don't know. Just my opinion. And what's with the stupid hats? Yeah, I thought the hats were a little ridiculous with the Starfleet uniforms. And the Starfleet uniforms were a little militaristic for my liking, especially from Starfleet, but what can you do? Anyway. Why does Earth look like Coruscant? Well, that's easy, Steve. That's easy. In case you're wondering, Steve's my brother. But anyway. Earth looks like Coruscant because he needs to get ready for his Star Wars movie that's coming up. So he's getting his props and his sets ready and, you know, experimenting with special effects, that kind of thing. That's the only thing I can think of. No, no, no. No one is going to notice that the little girl's IV liquid has turned pink. Okay, legit. Gotta give him that one. Pike got a text message on his communicator. Question mark. This one I gotta be devil's advocate on. I think it'd be cool to have text messaging on a communicator. It would have been helpful a lot of times in the original series when they were dealing with an enemy that they needed to be quiet for. Instead of hearing a beep, 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 and, you know, Scotty, what you doing up there? You know what I'm saying? It'd be much easier to text. I know they didn't think of that in the 1960s. That's why it wasn't included as part of the communicator. But having an actual communicator that could text message, that's a great idea. Go with JJ on that one. It would make for covert ops a lot easier. You could communicate with your away team without making any noise. As it was, they had to fucking hide and whisper and risk getting caught. Yeah, it's a little bit sketchy to me. I know that in the 60s they wouldn't have thought about that, but yeah, I 100% agree that they should have text messaging on communicators. So Kirk is demoted to commander. So why does he still have 4 bars on his shoulder like the other captains, i.e. the captain of the Bradbury, instead of the 3 bars like a commander would have? Spock, for instance. Now it makes sense why Spock called him captain just there. Spock is observant and correct because Kirk is wearing captain's insignia. I have nothing to say. That's all good. It's all good. Okay, get this. We are already established that in this universe, they can beam for great distances. Note that Scotty's transwarp beaming equation is meant to provide beaming capability to a ship at warp, not great distances. But, so why does this make sense? Earth Command hasn't detected any warp signatures leaving the planet, so we know he can't be far. That's a direct quote from the movie. Really? Also, no warp signatures leaving Earth at all? None? A busy place like the center of the Federation. Right. It's just dumb, and it's such an illogical statement. Just like Spock's statement, is it curious that Captain Harrison commandeers a jump ship without warp capability? When they obviously have technology like transporters that can beam across the galaxy, i.e. from Earth to Kronos, if that technology is allowed to exist in the future, why would no one expect it as an escape plan? Very valid, legit. I don't have much to say again in regards to that one. Sorry guys, my butt is sore. JJ's a real pain in my ass. But these things have to be said, so. In the attack on the headquarters, why does Kirk's phaser rifle seem to shoot bullets? Why do the phasers fire like Star Wars blasters? Well, no, actually, Star Wars blasters shoot more of a beam than these phasers do. These are phasers. They are different from guns or blasters. Correct. They are also different from lasers. Once again, Steve, he's just testing out his Star Wars special effects, etc., etc. I don't know. I agree. The phasers are a little bit sketchy in JJ's universe, but, you know, why mess up a good thing? Everything else is sketchy. Let's make the phaser sketchy as well. How can a whole area of Kronos be uninhabited? This area is very developed. There are lots of buildings, even lights on. Even if it were evacuated due to a hazard of some kind, there would still be squatters trying to live there. Also, they know that a province of Kronos to be uninhabited for decades, but they don't know how to spell Kronos. They spelled Kronos Kronos, I believe. Here, the correct spelling is QO apostrophe NOS. Kronos. I don't have much to say about that one either. Why is there a model of a top secret, still under development ship on Admiral Marcus's desk? Good question. But an even better question would be, why is there no Constitution class model on his desk? I believe it goes through all the spaceships, all the way up to NX-01 from Enterprise, and then right to the Kelvin from the first 2009 movie, and then to the Dreadnought prototype. Why not have the Constitution class ship there if the Enterprise is your flagship? The Enterprise is the flagship. Pike was commanding the flagship of the Federation in the first movie. So why would you not have that ship represented on your desk as Admiral Marcus? That's more of my issue. Also, the Dreadnought being displayed is just, you know, it was just pride and joy. It was a project under development. Most people would have thought it was just a prototype, so it's not a big deal to have that on his desk. I don't see a problem with that so much as I do with not having a Constitution class ship on his desk. All right. Long-range photon torpedo? Really? To travel vast parsecs or quadrants? Bullshit. Just beam it there. There you go, Steve. That's the spirit. Yeah, I agree with Steve there, though. Why not? Although long-range torpedoes are kind of cool. I can just see a lot of problems with them traveling through enemy space. They're bound to get picked up, destroyed, whatever. Maybe hit the wrong target. But, yeah, just beam them to their target. I agree. Spock shows way too much emotion in almost every scene. You can read it on his face. That's true. While Zachary Quinto is a good actor, and he does do a good Spock, it's a little too emotional. And I gotta say on this note, what is with Uhura and Spock? In the original series, it was Nurse Chapel had a thing for Spock. Spock didn't reciprocate. Uhura, this came out of the blue. This just blindsided every Star Trek fan everywhere. And no one quite knows why. But anyway, we'll get over that one too. The inside of the ship baffles me. Just all girders and open spaces. Let's walk a few steps from the shuttle bay to the warp core. And in the same room, let's load 72 photon torpedoes into launch tubes that run the length of the sides of the secondary hull. What? Photon torpedoes shoot in a forward arc, not sideways from the secondary hull. I just got to interject real quick here. In every game, Starfleet Battles, Star Trek Online, everything written about Star Trek, everything shown on screen, there are photon torpedoes firing a forward firing arc, not the sides of the ship. Either a forward firing arc or, in some cases, rear firing arc, if they have photon torpedoes in the rear. So I gotta point that out, that he is correct. Plus, the inside of the ship is all white and lens flares. Yuck. Well, that's JJ for you, Steve. Devil's advocate. Can't have a JJ movie without lens flares. The bridge layout is stupid, not efficient or military. It just sort of blurs away into the distance on the starboard side. How big is it? Can the captain sit in the middle and at a glance in any direction have any idea about what is going on at each station? No. And here I got to agree again. With Matt Jeffries' original design of the bridge on the original Enterprise, once that set was built, the United States military actually requested that they visit the set. And they studied it, they did sketches, and they actually used a lot of the design elements from that ship in future bridge designs for military vessels, ships, etc. And because it's a good design. You got the captain in the center, he's got a view screen in front of him with all the pertinent information, a map in front of him. There's a galactic map right on the helm's console between the weapons officer and the helm's officer. And then all the consoles are raised up 2 steps so that when he's sitting in his chair on the middle platform, all the displays are at eye level for Kirk. Excellent design. He can see everything. The only thing that's behind him is communications, which is why he has a swiveling chair. But you got engineering to the left. You've got environmental and auxiliary systems right beside that. To your immediate right, you've got sciences, etc., etc. And everything is at eye level. It's easy to see. It's easy to read. And the United States military has actually used this design. It's an efficient design. Way to go, Matt Jeffries. You did a great job. Keep it up, even though you can't, because he's dead. But he did a great job in designing both the ship and also the Klingon ships. Everything in that show is great. Speaking of the ship, there it is. Awesome design, great geometry, looks nice. It ain't a goddamn hot rod. Okay. All right. Continuing on with our rant. Warp speed. Bull. That is hyperspace. Hyperspace is on or off. Warp speed has factors. At one point, Kirk assumes that the other ship cannot reach them because they are at warp. That implies only one speed at warp. And if that is completely natural. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, there we go. I agree. The whole way that it jumps into warp is retarded. The pixie dust, everything. And they don't mention warp factors. There's no warp factor 9. There's no warp factor 1. It's just, let's go to warp. And they're at warp. And yeah, he did say that there's no way the other ship can catch them because they're at warp. And yet it overtakes them. Why have a lever like that to make the ship go to warp if it is only on or off? A throttle lever like Sulu uses to punch it. You want to hear Chewie after that command. Once again, go back to Star Wars. Would be best for setting different speed levels. But no, push it up. More. Ship still not moving faster. Push it up more. Almost there. Ship still not moving. And at the very edge of the lever's range, pop! Goes to warp. More accurately, hyperspace, in a burst of vapor trail and fairy dust. How quaint and dumb. More into dumbness. Legit. In Star Trek The Motion Picture, you see it. Sulu's got a lever like that on the helm console, which he pushes forward, but it's got the warp factors. So you push it forward, you go through to warp 1. Keep going, you go through warp 2, warp 3, warp 4. It makes sense to have a lever for that. JJ's does not make sense to have a lever. Plain and simple. There's no arguing these points because they're all valid. So are they supposed to go to the edge of the neutral zone and send torpedoes, or in Kirk's altered plan, an away team to Kronos? But the warp drive breaks down and they are stuck in enemy space for 20 minutes more than they are supposed to be. What enemy space are they in? If they are still en route to the edge of the Federation space at the neutral zone border, they should still be in Federation space, would they not? The Federation is not the Federation's enemy. Or is it supposed to foreshadow the fact that Admiral Marcus is the real enemy? What? Legit. Also, they couldn't have got there that fast. They got there... Well, that's mentioned later here, actually. They get there and do all their shit in less than a day. It would take like a week or more, probably at high warp, which warp 9, which they don't even have, to get to Klingon-controlled territory, let alone the Klingon homeworld. But, yeah. Another problem with the internal space of the ship. Acting Captain Sulu to Shuttle Bay 2. What? The Enterprise has only one shuttle bay. It's at the back of the secondary hull. You know, where the shuttle bay doors are. Oh, but the whole secondary hull is one big space with girders everywhere. The warp core, shuttle bay, torpedo room, everything is there in one big room. So no secondary shuttle bay in there? If so, wouldn't it be part of the same room anyway? Legit. I don't like the design of the new Enterprise at all. The Enterprise is a character in Star Trek, the most important character in my opinion, also my favorite character. I love the TOS design, I love the geometry, I love the way it looks. It's a great ship. I love the refit from the movies. JJ's ruined all that, especially the interior, like you said, with girders. If you watch the first 2009 movie with the shuttle bay doors open and they're coming in, the shuttle bay doors, the shuttle bay basically extends the full length of the secondary hull. If you look in there, it's hard to imagine where that ends. Let alone, where's the warp core? Where is cargo bays? Where's the engine room? Where's everything? And then you get the brewery inside in the 2009 one. Big brewery vats. You've got a water filtration system, which is retardedly huge for a spaceship. Those are all mentioned in my first JJ's Star Trek Sucks and Here's Why video. So check those out. Check that out. Oh, and then they fly mud ship out the side of the secondary hull. Let's just put another shuttle bay door there instead of the actual shuttle bay doors. Really? Who writes this crap? Dumb. Most of these end with dumb, hence into dumbness. Approaching Kronos now. Is that Praxis already exploded? If you're a big Star Trek fan, you know that Praxis, the Klingon moon, exploded in Star Trek VI due to overmining, which is quite a ways in the future if they're still in the original series time period. So, is that Praxis already exploded? Or, since the universe is so small, such as that Vulcan can be seen from Delta Vega, perhaps that is the remains of Romulus. If you watch my first video, it talks about the small universe theory that my brother proposes regarding this Star Trek, which makes this Star Trek seem more plausible and make more sense. Check it out so that you understand what we're talking about. But yeah, it being the remains of Romulus is just kind of funny because my brother's just being a dick. But he does it so well. Alright. And introducing the Blingons. Their helmets look like Klingon heads from the original. By the way, Steve, I didn't mean that you're a dick in a bad way. I just mean that you're very sarcastic and you love what you love. And I love that about you. I appreciate it. And everybody else should too. Your sense of humor is very dry. That's why the sarcasm of it being Romulus. Anyway, I don't need to explain myself. Continuing on. And introducing the Blingons. Their helmets look like Cylon heads from the original Battlestar Galactica, with Klingon forehead ridges on them. Yes, they do look a little retarded. Also, the color of the Klingons' eyes look a little bit off to me. And the little jewelry statement things they have. What are they, drag queens now? I don't know. So talk about a small universe. Scotty is gone for a day. That's right, 1 day. And the ship has traveled to Kronos, completed a mission there, and come back to Earth in 1 day. That's like hopping in your car and driving to the grocery store, doing your shopping, and coming home. Legit. It's like living in Toronto. This is how it should be. Living in Toronto, you want to drive to Kronos, drive to Florida. It takes you 3 days. 5 days to get to Los Angeles. It's a long way away. It's not like just hopping in the car and going to the store down the street, which is exactly what they did, basically, to go to Kronos, and it's a little bit ridiculous. That's something that JJ should have really picked up on, or the writers. Now the truth comes out. He is Khan. I see. Oh, and the stasis tubes are 300 years old. Let's do the math, shall we? The year is 2259, already established. Now let's subtract 300 years from that, and we get 1959. That was when Khan left Earth, 1959. I see. Definitely not the same universe from the original series then, is it? By the way, Earth did not have space travel capability in 1959, nor cryo-freezing. Now we are getting into the realm of comic books. So what else is in those tubes? The Red Skull and Hydra? It's quite possible. They were augmented soldiers also. Khan is quite a white guy for a Sikh. That's totally legit. He's also very British. Okay, let's look at this scene. They come out of warp and you can see the moon, and further behind the moon is Earth. Fact, the moon is 384,400 kilometers from Earth. And they are, according to Sulu, 237,000 kilometers from Earth. So how is the moon between them and Earth? Okay, yeah, the universe is smaller, right? Anyhow, if they are closer to the moon, then they would fall to the moon, not to Earth. There go the writers again, not getting facts right and altering the laws of physics. Dumb. Don't have much to say about that. I don't think it would actually fall to the moon either. The gravitational pull of the moon isn't strong enough to facilitate the starship falling to it. And Earth, yes, they have a gravitational pull, but it would not pull the ship from where it is to Earth's atmosphere. So I got to agree with that one as well. On a side note, on Wednesday, March 5th, an asteroid was sighted by NASA, and its course was to take it between the Earth and the Moon. Here's a quote. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, detected the asteroid using both space and ground-based telescopes as part of a Near-Earth Object Observation Program, or SpaceGuard. This particular near-Earth object has been named 2014 DX110, and at its closest point to Earth, it will miss us by 217,000 miles. That's 220,000 miles closer than our average distance to the moon, and about 1 jillion miles closer than I would like. Did it fall to Earth like the Enterprise and the Dreadnought? Nope, it didn't. Also, that whole Enterprise falling into the Earth's atmosphere, my brother doesn't mention it, but I have to. I was hoping that the Enterprise would get totally destroyed. The Enterprise took more damage in this movie than it did in the whole original series combined. Holes blown in the hull. The way it got ripped out of warp speed or hyperspace, whatever it was in, would have destroyed that ship in the first place. With the way it side slipped out and kind of hit regular space sideways, destroyed the ship. I don't care what you say. If you watch Voyager, anytime they're going to be leaving a slipstream of any kind, they always say about the dangers that'll tear the ship apart, because it's basically like going from super high speed to nothing really quick. Not possible. And the Enterprise falling through the Earth's atmosphere, falling below the cloud level, and then using its thrusters to come up. Bullshit. I got to call bullshit on that one right away. Sulu even said that there was no structural integrity field active or shields active at that moment until after they had gotten back, control of the ship, and out of Earth's atmosphere. Without a structural integrity field on that ship in Earth's atmosphere, falling and then flying opposite thrust from thrusters to pull it back up, would have ripped the engines off of it, would have ripped the primary hull off of it, would have destroyed that ship. So not only would it have got destroyed coming out of its warp speed or hyperspace slipstream, whatever the fuck it was in, it also would have been destroyed falling through the atmosphere. I was hoping we were going to get a new Enterprise. We kind of did. They redesigned it at the end. If you notice, the impulse engine is one huge impulse engine now, not two. That's basically all they did to the ship. Maybe added a few more little pretty lights. But no kind of refit, no improving on the fucked up hot rods Enterprise design that they decided to go with. Don't get me wrong, if you watch my Star Trek or how the Enterprise should have been designed video, I mentioned that from the side, that ship looks amazing. From directly on the side, JJ's ship looks good. Every other angle looks like shit. The original series Enterprise looks good from practically every angle. It's a beautiful design. There I go, ranting again, sorry. On the bridge of the Dreadnought, Scotty takes Khan down with one shot on stun. He's not down for long, but he does go down. This will come important later. How is this for a dumb line? Khan says, life support systems located behind the aft nacelle. Who writes this crap? The nacelles are port and starboard, not fore and aft. And not only the writers are at fault for that one. We can also pin JJ for that. Does he not know what the shape of the ship is in his movie? The second movie even looks like. In TOS, the Enterprise is one of the characters. And a very important character at that. You have to know things about the ship. How could that dumb line get past the director? Not much to say there. It's legit. When he couldn't hold on any longer, Scott says, I can't, instead of, I cannot. I cannot. Come on, Simon Pegg, get with the program. Not very original of the story to rob the same scenes from The Wrath of Khan, only to have the opposite character saying them, but I appreciate it in light of the reason. To tie into the storyline plot of the beginning of the movie. But there goes Spock again with an emotional outburst. Khan! By the way, nobody can do Khan better than Shatner. Shatner! Now I'm just embarrassing myself. Too bad Uhura didn't take a working phaser with her. It sputtered instead of shot. I've seen Star Wars blasters shoot more of a beam than that. It must not have been fully charged or something. 7 or 8 shots didn't drop Khan, when we know one shot will. I know he was probably pumped full of adrenaline, super, hyper, augmented adrenaline, but still, 2-3 shots should have at least took him down. Unless, like Steve says, it wasn't sitting on the charger long enough, like a cell phone. You know, had like 3% battery life. Not enough to take down Khan. 5 years in space, says Bones. Don't worry, Doctor. With the universe being so small, you'll be back in a couple of months. Also, what kind of an idiot puts a timer on a photon torpedo? What if the timer runs out before the torpedo reaches its target? They explode too soon, that's what. Or what if they don't get a chance to fire them when they want, and they're still in the tubes waiting to be fired, just ticking away? They go off in your tubes, that's what. And where was the darkness? Let's really examine this title for a second. Star Trek implies a journey. Well, Star Trek. A Trek implies a journey. But they can just hop to Kronos and back in a day. That would put them, what, a couple of weeks to the other side of the Milky Way? That isn't a trek. That's more like a hop. Yeah, they just take a hop. A day. They just take a day and hop over to the next galactic quadrant and back. because they like to wear those stupid little hats while Earthside. Hop here, hop there, and back. And there's no mention of darkness. What was that? Lots of dumb mistakes in the writing and the directing decisions, though. So let's consider a rename. Star Hopping Into Dumbness. Oh wait, JJ didn't want the colon in there. In his words, that makes it a sequel, and there's too much expectation attached to a sequel. So Star Hopping Into Dumbness, sans the colon, it is. I think the darkness was just a dark day for Star Trek fans. That, once again, we got lied to, that it wouldn't be Khan, and that he didn't improve anything in this one as compared to the first one. I think it was just a dark day for Star Trek fans. So it's Star Trek Into Darkness. I completely accept that title. But Star Hopping Into Dumbness, that's my brother for you. Gotta appreciate the humor. Okay, now that they've done 2 movies, it's time to work on the third non-sequel. Do you think they should finally start doing some original work? Or are they just going to rip off some other already done story? The whole idea for the first JJ movie was that they had a blank slate, that they can do anything from there. What they do does not need to follow pre-established lines. Our lives, what they would have been, will never happen, etc. So let's do something new, not reinvent something that has already been done. They are not going to win us over by rehashing familiar stories. 100% agree. Do something new, JJ. Maybe use pre-existing characters like the Gorn, like you did in the Star Trek video game, which takes place between these 2 movies. The game is good. Even the Enterprise, the design of the Enterprise in that game is good. It looks different inside than it does in the movies. So let's use existing characters, maybe new storylines. Something new. Let's just new it up. So there you have it, guys. That was our little rant on Star Trek Into Darkness. I feel very lightheaded now. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out my other videos in the description below, or scroll through all my past videos to see anything you might like. I do a lot of model building. A lot of 90% of my stuff is Star Trek stuff, but you know, I do have another interest: Transformers, Star Wars, etc. I got a lot of stuff collection-wise, as you can see here. So definitely check out my channel. I got a lot of cool stuff that you could that I'll be doing videos on, and if you're into model building, definitely check me out. Subscribe, like, everything, etc., etc., etc. So, you know how it's Space, the Final Frontier, these are the voyages. Let's try to make a new one. Space, the JJ Frontier. These are the voyages of the hot rod souped up Enterprise. Its ongoing mission to destroy a perfectly good franchise and piss off very, very, very loyal fans. And to boldly go where the original Star Trek went before and totally ruin it. I don't know. I need time to think about that. I'll probably come up with a better one. But you guys enter your submissions in the bottom there for a new opening. Space, the JJ Frontier. A lot of good fodder there. You can definitely come up with some good stuff. So do that, and we will pick a winner. I don't know. I don't know what you'll win. I don't even know if I'll do a contest. We'll see. I don't even know if anybody will even put anything in there. I haven't had really time to think about it, but I could come up with something really quick. Maybe I'll do a quick video and link it with this one. Anyway, guys, this is Captain Foley saying thank you for tuning in, and take JJ for what it is. It's a good science fiction movie. All right, guys, live long and prosper. Talk to you very soon. Captain Foley, out. Here's a little postscript for all you guys that stuck around. Here's my 350 scale Enterprise build. Original Enterprise. Lots of videos about this build and detailing it on my channel, so check those out. And here also is from the original Space Seed with Khan. This is the Enterprise Botany or Space Seed edition. There's the Botany Bay in which they find Khan. And there's the Enterprise pulled up alongside it. So thank you for staying tuned to check this out. And like I said, check out my channel, subscribe, like, that all helps me out. And I appreciate all you guys tuning in. See you soon, guys.